They have no clue. One of the things that, and we'll talk about that, we're going to do a few questions later on at the end, toward the end, so you can ask some questions about that. But one of the things I thought I'd tell you is my little foray into politics, because as you know, I'm self-funding. I'm not taking any money from anybody, and other than the small little donations, which don't amount to a lot. But I've turned down many, many, many millions of dollars, and I feel guilty, frankly, doing it. You know, I see all these young people, and I don't want to tell you to do that in your lives. Don't do that. But at a certain point, you're able to do it, and therefore people, you know, they can't tell you what to do. They can't say, vote against the electric bill, vote against this bill, vote for a lumber bill, vote for whatever it may be. But when you look at guys like Ted Cruz, he's taken so much money from so many different people. I mean, he's totally controlled 100% by different industries, like Big League. Bush, the same thing. Rubio, the same thing. That's where they get their money. And they will be totally controlled, and there's not a damn thing you're going to be able to do about it. You'll never understand it. You'll never know it. But I understand it, I guess, better than anybody. Don't forget, I've been on the other side for most of my life. And on June 16th, I announced I was going to run for president, so I became non-establishment very quickly, believe me, very, very quickly. But I thought I'd tell you a few things, because I've been in a business where, you know, it's pretty sharp. You meet sharp people. I don't mean sharp like sharp, although they're that also, but you meet people that really go to the edge. But I've never met people like politicians. They are the most dishonest people I've ever met. And no, really, I mean, really. And I think, I mean, Jeb is just Jeb. But this guy, Ted Cruz, is the most dishonest guy I think I've ever met in politics. He will say, like, for instance, many of you have heard my speeches. You see them on television. My whole thing is, we will repeal and replace Obamacare. So he comes out today and says, Donald Trump loves Obamacare. Now, what am I going to do about it? I'm going to say, we got 4 days left. So he says, Donald Trump, he took an ad. Somebody just said he's putting up an ad that I'm pro-choice. No, I'm not. I'm pro-life. But he took an ad. Donald Trump is pro. Well, but, so now you say, now how do you, because Fox just reported, well, Cruz said he's pro this and he's pro that, and everything's the opposite. Now, nobody's stronger in the Second Amendment. You've heard me talking about California. You've heard me talking about how if Paris would have the strongest gun laws in the world, if they had guns on the other side with the bullets flowing the other way. Most of you have heard a lot of the things I say. I say it constantly. I am the strongest person for the Second Amendment, the strongest of the group, okay? But Cruz just said, he said, I think he's an unstable person. I really do. He just said, Donald Trump does not like the Second Amendment. I said, the Second Amendment is my whole thing. And I have more support from the police. Even now, today, I get greeted by the police, and they really love Trump because I'm the strongest for the police. And, you know, so the Second Amendment to me is very important. So this guy comes out and says, I don't like the Second Amendment. He says, pro-choice. So you really have to understand, we have to get the word out, because what they do is they lie, and then they apologize, like he did to Carson. What he did to Ben Carson in Iowa was a disgrace. Affected me, too, because he got those votes. If I would have gotten those votes, I could have won, probably would have won. But he did a couple of things. He did voter violation forms. Did you see that? Voter violation, and it looks like it's coming from the Internal Revenue Service. Such an official, and it said, you are in violation, blah, blah, blah. Essentially, if you vote for Cruz, you'll be okay. And I said, man, that's a fraud. And nobody even mentioned that. What he did to Ben Carson was despicable. He said he was out of the race. He was quitting. Vote for, you know, they took, you know, because this caucus system is not the greatest, in my opinion, in all fairness. Caucus system is, I don't think it's great. But what they do is they take them, they say, Ben Carson is out of the race. Please come with us. You can vote for Ted Cruz. They have people bringing him over there. Because, you know, caucus, you sit around for a while, you talk. And thousands of people were convinced. In fact, they said on Bill O'Reilly that if 3 or 4 people from each precinct would have been convinced to go that way, then Trump, you know, would have won the election. I would have won in Iowa. Not that I came in second. I got almost the same number of delegates. Not a big thing. But it's a defraud. But I have to tell you, of all the politicians I've met, even Rubio, who has his own issues, but even Rubio, the other night in the debate, he said the guy's a liar. I've never heard a politician call another politician directly a liar. Now, I'm sure it happens. But Rubio is sort of, you know, he's a calm sort of a guy, especially when he's under pressure. Then he gets real calm. But he actually called, he understood that, this guy right there. But he actually called Ted Cruz a liar. He is a liar. So what happened, I just get out of the car, and Fox said that Ted Cruz said all of these, they're exactly opposite. Now here's what happens. He apologized to Carson after the event. What good does it do? Carson said, yeah, but I lost all those votes. And he apologized to him after the event. Should have apologized to me also, because frankly, it would have won, but it doesn't matter. But he apologized. He said, I'd like to apologize to you, Ben. The election's over. Now, what they should do, if Iowa had any guts, the people from the Republican Party, which they don't, they should disqualify him from winning Iowa. I really mean it. Because what he did was a fraud. So they should disqualify him from winning Iowa. So I just wanted to tell you I'm pro-life. I just wanted to tell you I'm the strongest person on the stage for the Second Amendment. Other things, I guess he's going to say, just take whatever I say and just sort of go in reverse, because, so his whole deal is he will lie, and by the way, these are lies. He will lie, and after the lie takes place and after the election's over, he'll apologize. Oh, thanks. Oh, that's so nice. Maybe you'll write a letter, because I don't think you have the guts to apologize to my face. So that's the story. So I just wanted to tell you, I've never seen anything like it. So very strong on Second Amendment. One thing with Ted Cruz, I'll say, during the previous debate, they talked about waterboarding, and he couldn't answer the question. He was fumbling and mumbling and stumbling, and he couldn't answer because he was afraid of the, because he thought waterboarding was tough. And he didn't know how to answer the question. You can see it. You can get a transcript or see it. You have to see it to really understand it. Then they went to me and they said, what do you think? I said, I think waterboarding is not tough enough. I'd go a step beyond waterboarding. Okay. I gave a very fast answer. So Ted is very weak on immigration. He's extremely weak on illegal immigration. If it weren't for me, you wouldn't even be talking about illegal immigration now, just so you understand. You wouldn't even be talking about it. And the reason I go on and tell you about this, because who the hell wants to take $2 million worth of commercials when I have enough cameras back there that can get the word around? Will you please please get the word around? For $2 million, I can probably almost get the word out, but it's always tough to fight a guy when he just goes and says whatever he wants to say. But he's very weak on illegal immigration, very, very weak. He was an amnesty guy, 100%. He said it. I mean, he was an amnesty guy. But he's probably, in a certain way, the weakest on illegal immigration, although I would save that for Jeb Bush, who I don't think is going to do very well, even though his brother's coming into town, which is, of course, lovely. You ever ask yourself why his brother went silent for all these years? No, don't ask yourself that. But his brother's coming in, and it's nice. I mean, frankly, I think he should have used his family a long time ago. I think he would have done better. I told him, I said, why don't you use the last name? You'll do better. Believe me, it's better than a hyphen. It's better than exclamation points. So I just want to say that when it comes to the other candidates, we will do a job. I'm not influenced at all by anything having to do with money. When I have to tell Ford, you got to move back. We're not going to let you do this. When they build a $2.5 billion plant, no special interest group, and believe me, I know most of them. They're great. They do a great job. Donald, we'd like $1 million for a month, and we think we can convince them to do what you want to do. These guys are fantastic, but no good, no good, no good for the country. I'm working for you. I'm not working for any of these people, and we have to do that. We have to do that. I actually said something, because I've turned down tens of millions. Jeb raised $148 million. Rubio's raised many. And take a look at who some of Rubio's donors are, by the way. Take a look at Ted Cruz's donors. I mean, that's a who's who. You take a look at the issues. You take a look at, as an example, the gay marriage issue, and then take a look at who his donors are. Ted Cruz. Go ahead, do it. He talks about it. Take a look at what he said about gay marriage when he was in the law offices in Manhattan, and what he said under a microphone when he didn't know the microphone was working, or somebody had their cell phone on. You take a look at what he said. Well, they're politicians. That's what they are. They're politicians. But I never realized, because I've always known politicians are, not so hot. But when you see it from this side, and I've heard complaints about this over the years, but I've never seen one like Ted Cruz. I've heard complaints about this over the years, that they're extremely dishonest. They'll say anything. But I've never seen it this way. I would say that we have a couple of others but they're really not in the same category, real liar. And then the worst is holding up a Bible all the time, talking about how you're willing to lie about anything, and then you hold up a Bible. It's no good. To me, it's no good, you know. And I think that's why I'm doing better with evangelicals than he is. Nationwide, I'm leading with evangelicals. As you know, I'm Christian, I'm Protestant, I'm Presbyterian to be exact. And I will tell you, Christianity is being chopped away at, chop. And some of the things I've said, you know, about Muslims, and we have to find out what's going on, and we do. We have to find out what's going on. You know, the hatred, the level of hatred is incredible. And we have to do that. If I said it about Christians, probably there'd be no problem. You know, people would say, because for some reason, and I think I know the reason, because they basically took you, you know, they're willing to take your tax exemption and tax status away from you if you talk. That happened during Lyndon Johnson's reign. And I would put that back so fast because I have so many great friends. Jerry Falwell Jr. is a friend of mine, and he's a great guy, and he endorsed me. And I said to him, you know, Jerry, he's Liberty University. He's an amazing guy. In fact, I think he's coming here to campaign for me. But an amazing guy. The job they've done with Liberty University is incredible. And I said to him, you know, what do you think it is? Because, and I said to a lot of them, I have so many ministers that are endorsing me and so many friends and pastors. And they're all afraid to get too involved because they don't want to lose their tax exemption. I said, then you really have, although these people love me so much, they don't care. I mean, they're at a point where they just want to have this happen. But, you know, it really is it's a very serious problem because they're so afraid to talk. I'm saying, you know, if you think about it, you have the most powerful lobby, you have the biggest lobby in the United States, bigger than women, bigger than men, right? Because like 250 million Christians, okay? So that's more than we have in women, more than we have in men. But they're afraid to talk because if they talk, their tax exemption is going to be taken away, which would be devastating. They have to close up their church. I mean, it would be devastating, right? So they're afraid. Now, some do it anyway, and all the ones with me do it. They don't, I mean, they're at a point where they don't care. But we're going to get rid of that. I don't know. That was put in to knock down, yeah. And I don't think anybody, I'll bet you nobody has even brought that up. But I see it because that's what I do. I see things. As a business person, I see things. And I see that the power, and I said to a number of them, I said to Franklin Graham, who's a great guy, by the way, I said to Jerry, I said to many of them, I said, you know, you have the most people, but you have the least effective lobby. And that's when I started finding out what's going on, because these are very strong people. These are great speakers. These are great inspirational people, and they're afraid to get involved politically. I said, so that would mean that if you're Christian, you're a pastor, you have less power than anybody that you see right off the street. That's pretty bad because, you know, you have to protect your religion because you look at whether it's Muslims or other religions, I mean, they're being protected, very protected. I mean, what they're doing is forget it. So I think it's very important from the Christian standpoint that we knock out that tax-exempt horror show that has taken a lot of their power away. And we have to give the power back to Christianity. That's a good thing, not a bad thing. And we are going to do that. That's going to be one of the things. We're going to say two things. We're going to say Merry Christmas at Christmas, and it's going to be up, because you can't say it anymore. You can't say it. And the other thing, we're going to work on getting rid of that, and I think we're going to be able to do that easily. I mean, with the power, I mean, I'll get, that one's one I get, that's so easy to get. Think of it. I go to the other politicians in Congress, I say, folks, we got 250 million people, they're all voting against if you don't do it. We'll get that done. But I think it's very important. So with the Cruz thing, I just wanted to tell you, he's a really bad liar, and it's something I hope you are going to watch out for. And I hope I can get the word out in the press, because if you do, I save about $2 million in advertisements, okay? I don't want to do a follow. Actually, his ad, I don't want to do follow-up ads for $2 million. Actually, his ad, don't forget, I'm putting up my own money, right? So when they put up money, it's not their money, they don't care. They don't care. They have, you know, funds like 150 million, 143 million. Hillary Clinton has like 100 and some odd million. They just put up money like it's water. With me, it doesn't matter, except I'm still psychologically, you know, I like to watch my costs. Does that make sense, right? Yeah, it's sort of important to me. That's, you know, the sign of a businessman. And I'll give you an example of something that I found recently that is amazing. And also relating to candidates, the drug companies. a friend of mine, a doctor, he's a member of one of my big projects and clubs, comes in, sees me, he goes, you know, Donald, the United States government doesn't negotiate the cost of drugs. I said, what are you talking about? He said, they don't negotiate. They pay the same as almost as if you buy it right off the pharmacy counter. These are prescription drugs and other drugs that make you better. Okay, these are drugs that make you better as opposed to drugs like Mexico sends in all the time, right? So he said, they don't negotiate. I said, you must be kidding. So I checked it, and about 10 minutes later, I said, yeah, it's amazing. They don't negotiate. They don't have to negotiate. There's some kind of a prohibition, and they don't negotiate. If we negotiated, this country would save $300 billion a year. Think of it. Now, think of it. Now, when Cruz and when, when all these guys are supported by the drug industry, there's no way you're ever going to, if they get in, there's zero chance they're going to change it. If I get in, this is just common sense, because many of you are business people. A lot of you are so young where you will be business people. Good ones, I think. That's why they're here. They have the natural gene. I can see that. But think of it. So you go and you try and negotiate, and Woody Johnson of Johnson & Johnson, who, by the way, happens to be the chairman of Jeb Bush's campaign, his fundraising, well, you're going to say, Woody, we're going to put the drugs out to bid? Not going to happen. And I don't even blame Jeb for that. I mean, it just doesn't happen. Psychologically, you can't do that. With me, doesn't matter. With me, I'm going to do the right thing. There are so many things like that. I'll tell you, we have that in the military, too. In the military, we buy equipment that we don't want because some of the suppliers are politically astute and connected, and some that make better equipment aren't. And I see it all the time where generals have accepted an order of planes, but they really wanted another one. It's not going to happen anymore. The other one's better, and it's less expensive. You know, a couple of minor details, like it's better and it's less expensive. Other than that, it's wonderful. But I see it. I've been seeing that for years, you know, where they buy equipment that they really don't want. It's politics. And I said to my friend, the doctor, he said, how is that possible? I said, oh, that's easy. All these guys, all these people that I'm running against, every one of them has big funds, everyone. And all of the funds. And you saw it the other night during the debate. I did well in the debate. A lot of people said I won that debate. But when I walked in, it was like my wife was clapping, my kids were clapping. But the whole room was made up of special interests and donors, which is a disgrace from the RNC. The RNC better get its act together. Because, you know, I signed a pledge, but the pledge isn't being honored by them. I signed a pledge.